The modern family didn't collapse by accident. It was dismantled deliberately by a culture that taught women to challenge male authority while still demanding male responsibility. That contradiction didn't create equality. It created chaos and resentment inside the home. For most of human history, relationships were structured around clear roles. Biology, temperament, and reality demanded specialization. Men carried responsibility outward: provision, protection, direction. Women carried responsibility inward: nurture, cohesion, emotional regulation of the family unit. Those roles weren't invented by oppression. They emerged because they worked across cultures, across centuries, across societies that never coordinated with one another. Feminism did not liberate those roles. It attacked and demolished them. Modern feminism reframed male authority as inherently suspect. Leadership was monitored. Decisiveness was challenged. Boundaries were constantly negotiated, while at the same time, it left male responsibility fully intact. Men were still expected to provide, still expected to protect, still expected to endure pressure without complaint. But the authority that once mirrored those expectations was stripped out. This is the double standard no one wants to confront. Men are held accountable for outcomes they're no longer allowed to direct. They are blamed for failures they are structurally prevented from correcting. They are told to lead, but only in ways that never disrupt a woman's comfort. That arrangement can never be a healthy partnership. It is dysfunctional by design. Inside many modern relationships, men are no longer respected leaders or equal contributors. They are managed, corrected, emotionally audited. Every decision becomes a negotiation. Every boundary becomes an argument. Every assertion of authority is treated as a threat. That dynamic produces nothing but instability and the slow collapse of a man's identity. Feminism sold women the idea that independence meant control without consequence. They could reject traditional roles while still demanding traditional outcomes. They could challenge male authority and still expect male stability. That belief has proven catastrophic for marriages. These consequences are evident everywhere. Marriage rates are collapsing. Divorce is normalized. More men are delaying commitment, avoiding it altogether, or staying in relationships where they've emotionally checked out. Not because men stopped valuing family, but because the cost of commitment no longer coincides with the authority required to sustain it. Men are still expected to be stable, consistent, protective, and productive, but they are no longer allowed to set the direction without resistance. That imbalance creates quiet withdrawal. Men stop investing where their leadership is punished and their boundaries are treated as negotiable. And when that happens, relationships don't explode, they crumble. You cannot build a healthy family unit when leadership is constantly undermined. You cannot sustain desire when respect is replaced with attempts to emasculate a man. You cannot expect harmony when roles are reversed but expectations are not. What we are watching now is not men failing to adapt. It is men refusing to operate inside a structure that punishes them for leadership and ultimately strips them of any form of backbone and autonomy. Because any form of backbone becomes a liability in an environment where masculine authority is treated as a threat. This is why so many marriages are doomed and why many men who remain in them are psychologically disengaged, because the relationship stopped functioning as a cooperative structure and became a power struggle. And this is where feminism bears responsibility. By teaching women to distrust masculine authority while still depending on masculine output, it created a system that cannot sustain itself. Two people can never lead the same structure. Two captains cannot steer one ship. That isn't ideology. That's biology and reality. Families thrive when roles complement instead of compete. When leadership and nurture operate together instead of fighting for dominance. When responsibility is matched with authority. What feminism offered instead was entitlement, the right to demand without reciprocation, to correct without contribution, to receive without respect. And men are opting out, not because they are weak or broken, but because they understand something modern culture refuses to admit. A system built on double standards eventually collapses under its own weight. That collapse is already here. Marriages are failing. Families are fractured. Children are paying the price. And men are being blamed for refusing to remain inside a structure that punishes leadership. This is not toxic masculinity. This is structural sabotage. The sooner we're honest about it, the sooner the fog lifts, and the truth becomes unavoidable. What happens next is not complicated. When men are denied authority but held to responsibility, they stop investing emotionally. Not all at once. It happens in increments, through withdrawal, detachment, and emotional rationing. They show up physically, but not psychologically. They fulfill obligations, but they detach from meaning. They stop building futures and start managing decline. This is how marriages become dead without officially ending. This is how children grow up watching cooperation disappear while conflict becomes normal. This is how boys learn that leadership invites punishment and girls learn that accountability is negotiable. No society survives that dynamic for long. Families are not sustained by power struggles. They are sustained by trust. And trust cannot exist where authority is punished and entitlement is rewarded. You can shame men. You can label them. You can call their withdrawal immaturity or fragility. None of this changes reality. A structure that demands men sacrifice their nature while blaming them for the consequences will always collapse, because it was built to fail. And until that is said unequivocally, without apology, and without ideology, the damage will continue.